eBay friends. Welcome to episode number 161 of eBay the Right Way. Today's date is April 17th, 2024, and my guest is everyone's favorite toy guy, Louis in New York. It's been almost 2 years since his last appearance here on the podcast. And as always, he has some great information on toy trends, collectibles, vintage clothing, and eBay in general. No announcements this week, so we will jump right in. Hey, listeners, we have a repeat offender this week. Louis, the toy guy in New York, is back to fill us in on all his adventures and happenings. So, how is everything going with you, Louis?
Good, Suzanne. I am good. Everything is going.
Okay, yeah, we did a little pre-recording chat. Today is Eclipse Day. So we're doing this before it happens. So if the world blows up,
It might not end up seeing the light of day.
that's right. Yeah. So I was like, are all the devices going to stop working? Like, what is anything going to happen? Are we just going to all go outside and put our glasses on and
I don't
look
know why
at it?
everyone's acting like this is the first eclipse that's ever happened, and like we had one a couple of years ago in the
Yeah, it was
Like
it was in 2017. So it was 7 years ago. And
the world did not.
same thing. Yeah, it gets dark gradually, and then it's really dark and cold, and you can see the stars in the middle of the day if it's clear, and then it gets light again and everybody goes back to their business.
Right, exactly. Then everything continues.
That's right. So anyway, here we are. So what have you been up to since we last talked?
Yeah, hustling, trying to keep the lights on and up to my neck in death piles as one does.
So do people need to come shop your house, or
Oh my god,
you just
it's
eventually?
no, what really needs to happen is like there's a lot of stuff, as I'm sure it happens to everybody, like it's time to give up on certain things and just let them go. And I have a
Mhm.
hard time doing that. Especially because like,
Yeah.
eBay's been kind of weird and slow. So it's like I don't want to redonate a $45 item because it hasn't sold yet. Maybe like it's a good item, but like maybe just someone hasn't seen it yet.
Well,
But
I'm
then
glad you said it's been a little slow because I'm feeling that too.
I mean, a lot, everyone's going to debate and argue, no, it is, it isn't, blah, 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 blah. But if so many people are saying the same thing, something's happening. And there's a laundry list of reasons why that may be.
Well,
You
why
know,
don't you delve into that? Let's talk about the
well,
reasons.
the economy is the economy, money's tight. And, especially me, I specialize in, hobby items, collectibles, vintage stuff like that. That's the first, if money's tight, that's the first stuff people stop buying.
Yes, the non-essentials.
Right. The non-essentials. And then the people that have no financial responsibility are the ones that are still buying. And those people are crazy and are usually problem customers. So
But I mean, you just never know what somebody's financial situation is if it's meaningful to them and they're passionate about it.
right.
They may just let their mortgage payment be late.
Right.
If they really want that one collectible they've been searching for or watching for years. It's just, it's all about an item is worth what someone will pay for it at any given moment, and that changes.
Yeah. And more, everyone's looking for a bargain.
Mm-hmm.
And, eBay's not the only game in town anymore.
Right.
And that's a very big problem. The under 25 crowd, they think eBay is for old people.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They just like they think PayPal is for old people. Younger people have their own platforms, their own thing. They're all into the Poshmark and the Depop and the whatnot of it all.
Yes, Whatnot. Are you selling
I've,
on Whatnot?
I have been doing a lot of vintage Barbie stuff on Whatnot, and it has been going really well. The only problem is it is hard to keep stock of quality
Okay.
in like that very specific market.
Okay.
Because like I can't just like have a delivery show up. I have to actively hunt it down, and everyone's buying vintage Barbie stuff.
Yes, that is a very hot category.
Yeah, it's a super hard. And what kind of is annoying as a vintage Barbie collector, there is so much incredible vintage Barbie stuff that is just rotting on eBay because the pricing is just not realistic. So people
Right.
just make up prices and then it all just sits there. There's
Yeah, I do see.
tens of thousands of vintage Barbie listings on eBay that no one's ever going to buy.
So, what is your advice to those people?
Oh, you got to do some research. See what these things are physically selling for. No one is dropping $15,000 on a case with one doll and like five beat up dirty outfits in it. Do some research. Just because it's an old Barbie does not mean big bucks.
Right.
And they get
Yeah.
you ask questions and they get, defensive and
Well, and I think people might be just like, okay, well, I have this and I'm not taking less than $400. And
right.
maybe they don't really want to sell it. They're
Right.
just, if it's kind of like your house. If the price is right, okay. But I don't really
But
want to
they've
move.
made up that $400 figure out of raw cloth. Like it doesn't, it's not a real figure that they're, and I've been there too, where I've made up an item and you weirdly subconsciously you get attached to that price for whatever reason that mentally happens. But yeah, you'll have an item sit there for years if you're not willing to work on it. But yeah, especially like vintage toy communities and stuff, they're getting elsewhere. The eBay market has gotten so flooded with people that aren't specialized in what they're selling that real collectors are just kind of they've all gone interior. They're all just kind of selling to each other within the communities where prices are more realistic and I'm in so many, we've built a little vintage Barbie whatnot community and we're basically all just selling and buying from each other.
Okay. Well, that's something. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's great.
I hear
It's been a lot
that
of fun.
I hear that people, the whole buying back your childhood, the people like they're trying to complete the sets and outfits that they had when they were playing with them and were young. And, they may only need that one outfit, that one stewardess outfit, or that one hula outfit, or whatever. And, it's worth what they'll pay.
Well,
You
and
can't
I always say
stuff you can't
nostalgia
buy.
is the strongest drug on the market.
What is?
Nostalgia is the strongest
Yes.
drug on the market.
Hmm.
If you could figure out a way to solve world peace with nostalgia, we could probably do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned you had some big Barbie news.
Yes. So I went to a doll show yesterday, as one does as a vintage Barbie collector. And, just expecting I'd find nothing because it wasn't like a Barbie specific show. I bought a number one Barbie.
Oh, there she is with the black and white striped swimsuit on and the her eyes blue
She's got black and white eyes, but she's got like a little bit of blue eyeliner.
and the dark hair. And she's the number one Barbie, which means
Yep.
that was the first one ever made.
Yep. She's got a number one, you can always tell she's got these tubes in the bottom of her feet because she had a stand that she would just kind of sit
Ah,
in. Yeah, so that was a very wild experience yesterday.
so wait, that was what, 1958?
1959.
Ah, it's close.
Super
Okay.
close.
Now, how much did you pay for that?
We're not going to go into that, but
Okay. That's private. Okay.
far far less than retail. Like half of what I would pay for her online.
Did you negotiate or was that just the price?
Yep. Guy worked with me on the price, and then I ended up buying like 5 other things from him too. So
Mhm.
we both made out very, very well.
So the big Barbie news is that you found the number one, that she was out
The
there.
holy grail. And it's crazy because, like, as it's a collector, we're all aware of them. They exist, and you just don't figure you'll ever buy one. They're expensive, they're rare, they're whatever. But they're out there. And
Mhm.
it's just very, because it's not like just a thing, like a number one bar. It's like a major historical artifact of sorts. Probably the most, iconic toy maybe of all time. So
Mhm.
that part has not settled in yet. Like there's one at the Smithsonian.
Mhm.
So that's heavy, but yeah, she's been next to me all since yesterday.
Did you set her on your table this morning when you're having your coffee and
She's been right next to my bed all day. I got her in
yeah.
a little protective box for now. And yeah.
So the
She
big question is, are you going to sell her or just keep her?
this is for me. I
Mhm.
got some other stuff from this guy that I'll enjoy for a while and then probably make money on later. But no, this one's probably gonna go to the grave. Or it becomes one of those emergency fund things. They're investment pieces at the end of the day.
So like if you need to get a friend out of the county lockup and you don't have the money, you would sell her to
Right.
do that?
I mean, depends how good a friend they are.
Yeah, it depends on how good a friend it is. That's great. Okay, well, congratulations on that find. And
Yeah, a wild, wild,
that's
wild
great to
weekend.
hear. So you want to talk about some sales that you've had over the past couple of years? You're
Yeah,
always
let's do
posting
it.
the $100 thread and the regular thread, and you're just one to watch.
I'm trying. It gets harder every month. I'm trying to what's a really good one that I had recently since I talked to you. Oh, the Michael Jordan book. That was a really good one. I think yeah, that was after I talked to you. That was yeah. So I was at Savers one Saturday and it was winter time. So like garage sales had just kind of stopped. This was like one of the first Saturdays of like post garage sale season. So I was like, okay, I can't just stay home. I don't usually do thrift stores on Saturdays, but I'll uh let me go do my rounds. And I'm at Savers, and behind the counter there is a like a Michael Jordan book. What was it called? Rare Air was the name of his book. And it had like a black fabric cover, and had a picture of him on it. So I'm like looking it up quick because I couldn't really get to it. It was like behind the counter. And it was kind of all over the place, but I did see that there was a valuable version of it. So one of the employees is over there, and I'm like, oh, could I just see that book? They bring it over. It was autographed by Michael
Ah,
Jordan. So, and it was stickered. It was an autographed edition. So it was, 100% authentic, ready to go. Don't have to go send it off or anything. And so I got it. I had a coupon, so I paid $80 for it, and it sold for 2,200
really?
in about a week.
How did I miss that?
That's going back maybe December of 22.
Okay. Okay. So, but still, something like that that's out there in the mix.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, and that
people,
apparently caused some drama at the thrift stores because at Savers, there's certain guys at that particular Savers that get handouts of certain kinds of things, and then they were all pissed that the autographed Jordan book was not given to them.
so
Like,
again, it all depends on the person in the back processing the
right.
stuff. last week's podcast
Yeah.
was with Lisa, who was talking about her Goodwills in Pennsylvania. There's people in the back looking stuff up on eBay and pricing it at 1/3 of the eBay asking price. They're not even looking at solds, but it all depends on the person.
Right.
You know, if they've been doing this for 6 hours and they're going home in an hour and they're tired or they just don't care, they can put any price on it. You know,
Right.
it doesn't mean just because a system is in place doesn't mean that everyone is
It always
following the
gets
system.
adhered to. Yeah.
Just, you know, like the workers at McDonald's that give you the wrong thing. They're not paying attention. They're all zoned out. Their mind is somewhere else. Yes, I totally agree that Goodwill is overpricing things. You know, they'll put $10 on a Walmart item that's new with tag that costs $6 at Walmart. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
But I think if you get the mindset of like, I'm going to find stuff today, and it all depends on that person in the back who's pricing it. It's just like if you have some kind of problem with, I don't know, the DMV or something. It's all about getting to the person who can fix it.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
you got to get past the people like, we can't do that. That's not possible. And you got to get to the right person. So there's so much of a human element in this that I hate for people to get discouraged. It is harder now.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Right.
It is. I
Those
started
$1
full
things that,
time
yeah.
in 2018, and just the difference between, even just 6 years later, it's crazy. It's crazy. I used to be able to walk into a store and walk out with a cart full of stuff every single day. And now it gets to the point I thrift every day, 3 to 4 hours. And if I come home with 2 items, I consider that a good day.
Yeah. Well, and
It's
as
crazy.
you evolve in this business, you do want the higher dollar items because it's just a lot of work, just listing all the time.
Right.
And do you have the Goodwill bins up there?
There is one in, I want to say Brooklyn or Queens, that is insane. I would never even dare do it. And then there's one in Connecticut.
Okay.
So I think that's
Well,
like a 2 hour drive.
there's one 30 minutes from my new location in Illinois, and I did
And how
go
is
there.
and how did that
And
go?
it was just, it's not how I prefer to shop.
It's not for
And
me.
it was really dirty.
Yep.
And thing is organized. It's just bins of whatever. And I'm not really a digger. Um, and I came out of there very disappointed, but I'm going to try again because um, I feel like there's gold in there. You just got to
There
find
is.
it.
There is.
And I got to change my attitude about
Yeah.
it because it is different. So I'm going to try it again. And it depends on, like, did they just put stuff out or, you know, have 100 people already looked through it? But honestly, there was maybe 6 people in there and it was a huge warehouse type
Yeah.
place. And one problem I ran into was, you know what a Gaylord is?
I mean, I
It's
know I
a
was one in high school.
not that kind. Um, it's like those big cardboard things they put pumpkins in at the grocery store.
Okay.
Big cardboard thing. And they had those, but they were so tall. They were maybe 5.5 feet tall, and I'm 5'2".
Yeah, you
And
can't get,
like,
no one can.
and they're like all these signs, do not stand on anything. So yay for the tall people. But like I couldn't even see what was in there because you
Yeah,
can't
that's
climb up the side of it. And I'm not diving in, but
no.
I was like, oh, no, now I gotta go find a tall person.
You
Or
need
now
someone
I
to
gotta
hold you by your ankles and dip you in.
go get me some platform shoes like 4 inches tall so I can even see inside of it. I was all prepared. I had my IKEA bag, I had my gloves,
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
when
I
we went. We did the same thing. We went to one in Florida once on our way home on a road trip, and yeah, it was. That's it's too high pressure. because a fresh cart comes out, it's just piranhas feeding.
Hmm.
And, people that go there regularly, they all have their own kind of culture that they live by, their own rules and blah, blah, blah. And then you're getting yelled at by people and they want you to keep your carts against the wall, but then people are just walking around grabbing stuff out of people's carts.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Because
I was
we
like,
got yelled
is it?
at for having our cart behind us when we were digging, and we were told we had to put our cart against the wall.
Oh,
And I mean, we did not have the problem with people taking stuff out of our carts, but our carts were also basically empty. But apparently, that's a pretty big problem that happens in certain areas.
so yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're all different. And it was very laid back, hardly anybody in there. And I was kind of overwhelmed, like, oh my God, it's going to take me hours to look through all this stuff. How do people do it so fast? And I just, I guess I need more practice.
Yeah,
I need to
it
practice.
sounds great. If it's like low energy like that, and there's not a ton of people, that sounds great. That sounds way
Because
more.
back in the day, when these first started, that's all people made these videos for YouTube, and they're like, it was total pandemonium in there. It was like Black Friday used to be at the mall, it was just craziness. And I was like, that's not for me. But it
Well,
seems
and those have
it's
gotten so crazy now, especially because of like TikTok and Instagram. Like every 22-year-old that considers themselves a hustler is spending 6 hours a day at the Goodwill bins, trying to be a t-shirt bro.
oh, right.
And so they can get clicks. And that becomes its own thing. They're bringing their own stuff just so they can make videos of it, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
become
Yeah. A lot of it's just
its
staged.
own total disaster. Well, that's,
Um,
I run an account, Instagram, where I show some of my thrifting finds and blah blah blah, and like regularly people will be like, "Oh, this is fake," and I'm like, "You think I brought a Tiffany teapot into a thrift store just to take a video? Like that
yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
even make
I mean,
sense."
there's you don't really know what you're seeing. That's why
Right?
my videos are like, this is what's sold. Here's the screenshot of the sale. Like, this is fact.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to be a fact-based content creator because you can't believe anything you see.
Yeah, no one
You
believes
know,
anything. But we're
reality
all just so
TV is
trained to distrust everything.
yeah, reality TV is manufactured reality. None of that's real. Um, so anyway, back to the bins. It's just and then it dawned on me, just if it's a maybe, get it. Just get it because
Well, at
it's so
those
cheap.
prices, especially, you're paying pennies for things.
Yeah, it's 99 cents a pound.
Yeah.
So even if you just go home and research it and you don't, you end up trashing some of it, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. That's a
Um,
great little investment to take. That's actually a great opportunity to like test different waters in different genres. And next time I go,
yeah.
my close friends lives in Rhode Island, and I think next time I go up to visit her, I'm gonna make a pit stop at the one in Connecticut.
Okay.
Check it out.
I challenge you, and I'm going to challenge me because I went back to the $100 thread on the Facebook group, and it's like all these people talking about all these things they're finding at the bins, and this was pennies, and I sold it for 50, and this was, and I'm like, and my first visit was just disappointing. So I want to
Well,
be
it also
like
could have been an
them.
off day for the store. There could have been 100 factors why that day wasn't a good day. But yeah, I think people are finding better stuff at the Goodwill bins than they're finding at regular Goodwill stores.
Yeah, and somebody mentioned that a lot of times it's has never been in a Goodwill store. Like
Yes.
the intake is overwhelmed, so they're just sending it straight to the
Yeah.
bins,
So it's
and it's
not getting
never.
filtered through and going to their website. It's not, I think we were all kind of under the assumption that it was what was left over after a month at Goodwill got boxed up and shipped to the
Yeah,
bins.
the bins
Mm.
equals scraps.
Yeah, well, yeah, we all kind of figured it
That's
was
not the
the clearance
case.
store. And that is
Okay.
so not the case. That
Yeah.
is
So
really
anyway, we got off track there, but that you found the Michael Jordan book,
yes.
and that was overlooked by the powers that be, and so it's going to happen. And so what else you got that you've sold lately?
What else has been oh, my brain is such mush these days. Um, I found some really cool early 90s WWF wrestling teddy bears.
Oh.
So I guess these were things that you could only get like if you went to a live show. So it would like be at the big merchandise stand. And who was it? It was Bret the Hitman Hart, Razor Ramon, and Doink the Clown. And Doink sold for 300. Razor Bret Hart sold for I want to say 200, and Razor's still listed. But the other two sold in like 24 hours. They sold super, super fast. That was cool.
None of which I've ever heard of, kind of along the lines of Zach McDore's Circus Punks. Like, what?
No idea what that is.
There's these crazy sort of dolls he found called Circus Punks. And they've been selling like crazy, like
Wonderful.
some collectible things. So yeah, I learned so
Yeah,
much
apparently
talking to you guys.
these are difficult to find in general. And like there's a bunch of like, Hulk Hogan and like the more but these were kind of, I guess, less produced because Hogan was like the big guy at the time. And so I guess, yeah, some of the other ones are way harder to find. And
Wait, was he the one with 22-inch Python arms, or was that
yeah,
Ric Flair?
yeah, no, that was Hogan.
'Cause we lived in Charlotte for a while, and that was big
Oh,
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
saw, I think it was Ric Flair in the airport one time, and the crowd just ran up to
Charlotte
him,
is a
and it was,
massive wrestling city.
oh yeah, oh yeah. I learned all about NASCAR and wrestling when I lived there.
You have been all over the place.
It's been interesting. Yeah, I'm kind of like a rolling stone that gathers no
That's
moss
great. No, that's wonderful. I wish I could do that.
in the land of Lincoln now. So I'm having to learn all about the Midwest
Well,
stuff.
and
Like,
especially that's crazy because like I very often I feel stuck because I deal in stuff. So then I feel like I don't want to pack all this stuff up of inventory to move and then have to reset
oh
up an
gosh, I just did it. I tell you what, my hands have never been so exhausted.
But
And
what did you do right before you moved? Did you just have like a giant sale to try to get rid of as much as
well,
possible?
I knew that 3 months out, this was going to happen. And I started calling my inventory. I put some things in lots. I did auctions. I did, I took lower offers than I would have. Like if it was a really good item, I'm keeping it. But,
Right.
and then the heavier, bigger things, I kind of let them go because my theory was I'd rather take a few packages out every day and have them be sold and ship them than have to pack up all this stuff and move it.
And risk breakage and blah blah
Yeah.
blah.
Well, I was
Yeah.
on the third floor of an apartment building. And so either you're going to do it yourself or you're going to have to pay people because they charge you extra if you're on a higher floor. So I also got a storage unit and started taking a few things over there every day, like, maybe 2 trips down the stairs. I'm like a little ant moving
Right. Right.
crumbs one at a time.
No, that's
But
super smart though. Then you just have everything at one easier to get to hub.
yes.
It's gonna
But
do it
as
all.
far as the inventory itself, I really focused on um, bigger items. I had some puzzles and shoes and stuff like that. And, I kept the small accessories and small collectibles and stuff like that. So it wasn't too overwhelming, but I mean, I didn't like just give everything away,
Right, right.
and that was kind of been my business model that I've been moving towards is smaller things anyway. So that worked out, but it was still like the timing of, um, when are you going to stop shipping? When are you going to start shipping again? I did not do vacation mode. I just increased my handling time.
Okay.
And, the last box I packed, the last clear tub is an assortment of shipping supplies, my scale, all of that, so that I can pull that out first and my computer and get set up to ship. So I didn't want to miss any sales, but it it was easier on the receiving end because it's a one-story house with a basement, but my stuff isn't going in the basement. And my man had like 3 guys waiting when we
Awesome.
arrived. And I didn't have to touch a thing. They unloaded everything. So I was so
Excellent.
happy.
Like, fine. I'll go make us all some lemonade and sandwiches, and you let me know when you're finished.
Right, exactly. So that was great. So, but thank you for asking.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
was just listening to I forget who the gentleman was, the gentleman in California, an episode from maybe the
oh,
episode
Bill,
before the anniversary episode. And
Bill,
I didn't
yes,
realize that you moved to a homestead.
yes.
That sounds so
Oh
cool.
my God. We're getting 3 dozen eggs a day. We don't
Oh,
know what
that's
to
amazing.
do. And we can't, they're not selling because all the neighbors have the same problem.
Oh
So it's like,
no.
okay, we're going to have egg salad for lunch. We're going to have breakfast for dinner. I'm going to make a pound cake that takes 10 eggs. Like you can't use them all.
That's a lot. Would you say
I'm going to
three
start
dozen a
like
day?
shipping pound cakes to people, like all my friends. Cause like, yeah, what are you going to do? But that's living, out in rural is what a
Right,
problem to have.
right.
So,
That's so
okay.
you
So you got your
up with the
wrestling
animals
stuff.
oh, I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, and I was getting back to you.
Oh, you're good.
Other things that you've sold or even found that haven't sold yet.
Let's see. I've been doing a lot of cruel embroideries
Good
lately.
for you.
I've been finding a ton of those. Not doing them physically myself. I have
Now,
no
that's what I was going to ask you in
no
your spare
hand-eye
time
coordination
making
for
them.
that. No. But I've sold I had a really beautiful, it was all browns and oranges, it was all mushrooms.
That's such a thing now.
Oh, the mushroom decor is so hot right now. And that like everyone thumbed their noses at 5 years ago and called it ugly and stupid and blah blah blah. But everyone's so into that kind of like comfort granny decor. It just kind of makes everyone feel and they're really warm, kind of cozy colors. And yeah, so it was this beautiful kind of psychedelic mushroom embroidery, and it was all different textures and stuff. It's pretty big. It was about a 2 foot square, and paid, I want to say $8 for it, and I got 300 for it.
Excellent. Well, I have a side
I've got
note for you about mushrooms. I don't know
mm,
if you picked up on this, but the man I'm with, his name is Leith. It's like Keith, but with an L. And he grows gourmet mushrooms
yes, I heard,
indoors.
yeah, you guys have a gourmet mushroom business.
Yes, indoors in
That's
a
so
controlled
cool.
environment. And that industry is exploding. And it's not like the psychedelic
Right.
stuff. It's for, restaurants are buying them.
Yeah.
They had a restaurant call the other day. They want a commitment of 15 pounds a week. And just what they pay is insane because it's such it's complicated to create the environment indoors, but
Mm,
it's beneficial because there's wildlife doesn't eat them. They're not subject to weather problems and all that. But it's not something you can just start today and get,
right.
it's a process. But they grow all these very interesting, like blue oyster, lion's mane, all these
Very
different
cool.
kinds. And if you go on Amazon and just look up mushroom powder, there's all this stuff you can put in your coffee and hot
Yeah.
chocolate. It's very nutritious, lots of B vitamins,
A lot of
vegan.
people are using it as a coffee what's the word, an equivalent substitute.
Right, right. And then the vegans like them because they have protein, they could be a
Yeah,
meat substitute, so all
they're
that. But
beefy.
it's just there's an awareness of it now
Yeah.
that I think that's part of why they're popular right now is it's kind of a movement
Yeah, it's a thing.
towards that as a health food. So, and then we have all like that Sears Mary mushroom stuff and
Oh yeah, which was
uh,
also again, you couldn't give that stuff away 5, 6 years ago.
because it's hideous.
No,
Who
I
wants
love it. Well, I am very drawn to things that are kind of kitsch and
Yes,
anything that's
absolutely.
anything that's not the size that it should be. So like
Mhm.
I love big things that are representations of very small things, and I love miniature versions of very big things.
Right.
I love that play of scale, just kind of like makes me happy. So yeah, I think everyone kind of and I think like kind of post COVID is like depression has set in for basically everybody. People kind of want to be surrounded more by either, the nostalgia of, oh, my grandma's kitchen was decorated that way. And also just like happy, fun colors and things that are playful and whimsical. And people are just looking for little moments of joy that they can dot their lives with to just
Absolutely.
kind of
Yes.
round the edges because we're just everything's so sharp right now. And anything that you can do to just kind of like baby proof your life a little bit and just bring a moment of joy. Okay, have a ladle that looks like the Loch Ness monster or a stapler that's shaped like an alligator. Just dumb
Yeah.
little things to just make a mundane thing just, you know, a microsecond of joy.
That alligator stapler was in one of my BOLO books. It's
Was it?
purple.
I
It's a
made that up off
purple
the
one.
top of my head.
It's from the Goosebumps series. It's a character and it's a
Ah,
purple alligator. And at one time that was selling for like $80. Just
wild.
because how often do you see a purple alligator stapler?
Right. Right. Well, it's
Oh,
Goosebumps is so big too, is its own thing. And because we're getting to the point where, I'm a 90s kid, and a lot of 90s kids are starting to have more, well, it's stopped post-COVID, but for a while we had a bit more disposable income. So we had a little bit of money to kind of start buying that kind of stuff that we didn't have as a kid or had and lost or whatever. And that line's always moving, but it's starting to finally move into the 90s.
well, and
And
I
now,
saw,
like the young kids are all into 90s stuff. The 90s are the hot era.
okay, so do you have any hot tips about specific 90s things?
You can never, I mean, 90s toys like Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers are doing pretty well. Um, 90s, late 90s, like that Y2K era raver clothing is lightning hot right now. People are especially, do you remember Jenko jeans?
Vaguely.
They were like the super duper wide leg, crazy, like
Okay.
raver jeans from the late 90s. If you find vintage pairs of those, some of them are going for 5, 6, $700.
Really?
It's
Okay. Keep
wild.
going. This is what we want. We want to know all these
That's
obscure
the stuff the
things.
kids are into, and
Um,
just anything that kind of feels like, you know, some kid would have worn it on some MTV special in 1999. That's the vibe they're all kind of into.
and so what age people are into this?
Like the 17-year-olds. This is what
Really?
like the high school kids are into now, I guess. I mean, I've officially become the old man. I don't know when that happened, but at we've been doing a lot more clothing at the vintage shop that I'm at. And yeah, it's teenagers, super early 20s. They all want those like big, oversized, ugly sweaters and overalls and just stuff that feels unique and different from what all their friends have. My generation was the generation of you went to high school and you wore a shirt from Abercrombie and Fitch and six people had the same t-shirt on that day.
Mhm.
This generation is very more about I am an individual and how I present myself to the world must reflect that. So they want to go elsewhere. That's why malls are dying. No one's
Mhm.
shopping. because
No.
everyone's kind of done with that cookie cutter, this is what you're supposed to look like thing. They're taking the images from runways or whatever and then going out into the world and sourcing it themselves.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And for contrast, I'm older than you, and I was in high school in the 80s. So
Mhm.
everybody was wearing Gap
Yeah.
or JCPenney's. Um, Nike clothing hadn't really come out yet. Nike shoes were just coming out. Um, yeah, I mean,
The Benetton of it all.
yeah, some of that. And then, well, it was really like the Breakfast Club. It really was
Yeah.
because you had your Sportos, you had your preppies, the Izod shirts were big,
Yeah.
and you had your penny loafers, and then you had, your kids that wanted to wear like army stuff and flak jackets, and
Yeah.
you really did have very distinct groups of people. And we dressed up to go to school. We would
Oh
wear
yeah.
skirts and pantyhose and nice sweaters, and yeah, God forbid you get a sweater for Christmas in Georgia, and what, maybe you got to wear it twice, because it
Right.
wasn't ever that cold. But yeah, and then my kids, when they were in high school in late 2000s, um, it was jeans and hoodies,
Yeah.
Under Armour hoodies and jeans, or shorts. I don't care how cold it was, cargo shorts.
Well, Long Island, the big thing was, you could always kind of tell where what part of the island certain people grew up on. They'd be wearing by what pajama pants they wore to school. And I'm sure some listen, if we have younger listeners, the Cookie Monster pajama pants told you everything you needed to know about a person.
Yeah, when
But
I
yeah, it
started
started. Oh, go ahead.
it's like kids in grocery stores, like, I would be doing my grocery shopping, and they're just coming in their pajamas and their slippers.
Oh
And I
yeah.
thought, oh, this is like a slumber party, and they're just doing this to be defiant. And then it was all the time,
Yeah. I
that's
was at
their regular.
Savers one day and a
And
guy walked in a robe. He had a robe on.
it was before COVID, when everyone was wearing pajamas for clothes. Like, you had your day pajamas and you had your
Yeah.
night
Yeah.
pajamas.
It's so crazy. It's like
Yeah.
every once in a while, like I'll run out in sweatpants and I feel like I'm in my underwear. Like I'm just like, this doesn't feel right to be running around in sweatpants.
I know it. Yeah. I guess it's just whatever that generation's doing. So, do you have one more sale or story you can tell? Do I need to do a death pile challenge for you and say, tell me 3 things in your death pile, and then you have to list them?
Okay. Oh gosh, I don't even know what's in my death pile right now. That's why it's so bad. Because it's gotten to the point where like the struggle has become so real sourcing in my area that there's a lot of buying stuff, and then I get it home and I'm like, why did I even buy this? So there's literally just bags from the thrift store that just got thrown because I'm like, why did I even buy this? But that's the stuff I really need to, and it's a good time to revisit those piles that we have and blah blah blah. And okay, so I'm not sourcing, but I'm brain broken. So I have to get up every day and go out to the thrift store when like in reality the thrift store's already here. I've done that work already. Now it's about getting it going. So I'm trying to mentally renegotiate things right now, and I got to start clearing stuff out and just kind of making more space, and then I can kind of go from there. Like there's certain things just give up. I know I'm never gonna stuff that needs to be electronically tested or battery compartments need to be cleaned and blah blah. No, just be done with it, whatever.
Yeah. If it's labor intensive, it gets put aside
Right.
because you want to list the things that are ready to go.
Right.
So, because they could sell in 5 minutes.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna start doing that for sure.
Okay. I'm going to ask you one last thing.
Yes, hit me.
Trends. Now, I see there's a Garfield movie coming out.
Is there another
Are
one?
there any trends we need to be aware of that are just starting?
Trends
or that you
that are
picked?
just starting.
Well, I mean, you've talked about the clothing and
I don't know about just starting, but Monster High dolls are getting hotter and hotter and hotter.
okay.
I was at the doll show yesterday, and usually doll shows are mostly older people. It's a lot of 70-year-old ladies looking for that 1940s Madame Alexander. And then there's the
Mhm.
doll people, but there was a lot of people in their 20s looking for Monster High. There is a huge youth movement through the doll community. They're doing the Monster High, Rainbow High, stuff that is, I mean, it used to be cheaper, but now, like, Monster High's not even that old. I
Well,
want
I
to say
was just
Monster High.
gonna say, I think around 2010, 2012, I was selling those on Amazon. I
Yeah,
was, I was that person. I was going to Target or Walmart, and it was the combo pack. There was 4 or 6 of them in there,
yeah,
and they weren't cheap, but they were selling for 3 times retail because they weren't everywhere.
yeah.
And are they still making them?
So Monster High died out for a little bit, and then they brought it back. Now they're doing like collector editions where they're doing ones based on movie characters. And last week they did the first set of reproductions. We're
Okay.
reproducing dolls they made 15 years ago.
Or not even that long.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the originals are going for two, three, $400. So they reproduced them at $40, which is smart on Mattel's part.
Mhm.
But yeah, Monster High is getting hot.
A lot of great information. So, um, anyway, I guess we can wrap it up so you can get back to your death pile, unless you're going shopping today.
Don't make me, don't make me. Now Mondays I do like one quick thrift run, and I stay. Mondays they don't really restock or anything. And everything's
Okay.
still kind of like it's just a mess from the weekend.
Yeah, I hear
I
you.
give it
Well, we haven't.
every once in a while they will be restocking, so I pop my head in just to see.
Yeah, you never know what could just have been put out.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's always
So we
good.
have the eclipse in about an hour, and then I'm going to be brave and go back to the Goodwill bins and see if I can find anything.
Are there
And
other thrift stores in the area too for you?
um, it's pretty rural here, so there is another Goodwill. I found a church thrift store and found some good stuff in there, some needlework kits. And
Oh,
um, the question is, how fast does stuff turn over? Like, how often should you go? Because
right,
sometimes these little stores, you see the same things, like they haven't put anything new out.
right.
There is Springfield is about an hour away, and I did check out a Goodwill there, and the prices were just ridiculous. I'm like, I'm not paying that.
Right.
Yeah, I can flip that, but I'm not paying that. So I'm still exploring. I think I'm going to go south towards St. Louis next and investigate. But we're getting into yard sale season, church sale season.
I'm so
But
ready for it.
the thing here is they don't use the internet to advertise. They might put it in a little town
Interesting.
newspaper, maybe a Facebook group. Um, it's not easy to find them. You just have to drive around or word of mouth, or it's something like a church sale that happens every year, stuff like that.
We're having the opposite problem here where people are only posting it on Craigslist or one of the apps and no one's putting up signs anymore.
Oh.
So I could drive around for like 2 hours and just not find any yard sale signs. But then I'll get home and
Mhm.
I'll check the app again. And there were ones that I like was in that neighborhood, but they didn't have signs for it. So I didn't know it was there.
Or if it is on an app, they don't take it down, or they don't have a date,
Yeah,
or if
that's
it
a
is on a
problem
sign.
too. Or
It's
they
like,
just put the street, they don't put the house number. So then I
I
just,
know, it's
and
all
it's like,
about
that
information.
street is
Like, come
four
on,
miles long.
we got money, we want to spend it. Come on.
It's so crazy. Yard sale
So,
season was insane here last year. the end of yard sale season, it rained for literally 2 months straight every Saturday. So we lost 2 months of yard sales.
Oh no.
And yeah, so I got my fingers crossed for it. I'm hoping for the best. Our local flea market started up yesterday. Was the first day of the big flea market that I go to every week
Okay,
at the
good.
train station. So yeah,
So,
we'll
I
see
mean,
how it
we
goes.
can rest assured that junk will never run out. It's going to be everywhere.
No, the problem though, like it's starting to turn into just resellers selling to resellers. Is
Hmm.
like even when we go to garage sales, it's everybody's death piles. It's everybody's stuff they didn't sell for 6 months on eBay, so they're offloading
Hmm.
it. It's everyone that I see at Savers. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, now I know where you live.
We're all just passing each other's junk around.
Yeah, it's what's happening. It's what's happening.
Well, Lewis, it was great to reconnect with you. Thank you for all that great information. And
Always
I'm
a
going to check
pleasure.
on your death pile progress. I'm going to be a thorn in your side and just.
No, that's what I need. I need bully me, Suzanne.
And you can challenge me. Have you been back to the bins yet? Have you been?
Gotta
Give
do
it a
it. You
chance.
gotta do it. See how it
Do it
goes.
5 times before you give
See how it
up.
goes. Make those 18-year-olds uncomfortable. Give them that mom energy.
Yeah, I'll be buying all the ugly mushroom needlework that they don't want. Thanks again, Lewis. Have a great day.
Thanks, Suzanne. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you again, Lewis. It's always a pleasure catching up with you. Okay, I'm starting a new feature on the podcast, Snippets of Wisdom from Resellers. Janessa posted this on the Facebook group and was kind enough to make an audio recording so I could share it on the podcast.
Hello, Suzanne. I wanted to give a reminder or words of encouragement, especially to newer sellers, concerning people contacting you in eBay messages with the intent to devalue your items that you have for sale. This has happened to me twice recently, which I was able to talk to you about on our podcast interview, but it just happened again today. A woman contacted me and asked to cherry pick a toy lot I had for sale. I always politely decline these requests. It's actually written in my listing template that I will not split lots. After I said no, she messaged me to tell me that the toys will never sell for the price I'm asking. Can I just say I really wanted to respond to her message, but after 20 years on eBay and lots of gray hair, I have learned responding will only cause me more stress and probably ruin my day by creating a back and forth with them. In both of these situations, the item that had been devalued by an eBay customer sold about a week later for full asking price. I think that is positive seller karma. So believe in your research price and listen to your gut when deciding whether it is worth your peace and your time to engage with these types of buyers. It is not. Thank you so much for your wonderful podcast and all that you do. Bye-bye.
Great topic, and thank you for giving us your experience on that, Janessa. I really like this idea of including words of wisdom from the reselling community in the podcast. So this is a call to action to my audience. My contact information is below. I would love to hear from you. Everyone has valuable information to share, and you may not want to come on the podcast for the full hour, but just add a little bit of advice or an experience to help others with their eBay business. So don't be shy, contact me, and let's get your snippet onto a future episode. Next week, my guest is Cassie, who is also a repeat offender and sells all kinds of interesting things. Thank you again, listeners, for supporting this podcast by listening to it and telling your friends. I hope you have an outstanding week on eBay. Talk to you next week. Bye, everybody.